ahead.
This is insanity.
What? It just has everything. It's close to the city, beautiful ocean, good weather, casinos.
It's so
got Bridgeport. That's not good, but it's got the
rest.
rest.
Not ideal.
Friends, Tuesday, 1 o'clock. You know what that means? Awesemo.com PGA Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Fantasy. We're on the cusp of the Masters. But before that, we've got a lot to talk about at the Valero Texas Open. It's not the most glamorous tournament, but I can tell you, if you win a large field GPP, you won't care where it is. The money is all the same. There's a lot of opportunity here, not just in the DFS streets, but also in the betting market. We're going to talk about all that and more, of course. Who better to do that than Eric Lindquist, who joins me today, as he always does. Sir, I know you're excited for Augusta. I would assume it's your favorite tournament of the year, like most people. We're on the cusp of it, but we got a little business to handle today beforehand.
Yeah, we do. The same way that Scotty Scheffler keeps handling business week after week after week, we're going to try to keep it going here. Good to see Dave in the chat right off the bat. He had a great NBA night.
Good.
Fantastic stuff. Great to see. We were on the Locks Before Lock. Always check that out for the NBA shows. But right before Deeper Dive Live before a lock, we'll plug that. But I'm going to be at the Masters next week, so I won't even be on shows. I will be dipping out. Looking forward to being able to hang out with my dad, going to a golf tournament where, according to Twitter and all of the planes that are being tracked across the Florida to Augusta spot, Tiger Woods is going to the grounds to go give it a go. We're going to see. He might be playing golf, and that is going to add all-time high. As if Duke UNC on Saturday wasn't good enough, we're going to get possibility of Tiger Woods at the Masters starting Thursday.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Who knows? Yeah, they're tracking the planes. They got people who do that, I guess. Good for them. We've got a lot of time on their hands, but you know.
Okay. So hang on. So time on your hands. I mean, you were sweating some kind of CS:GO action. Oh, okay. That's fair.
You know, good for them. We'll see if Tiger plays. I know that's going to be the center of the golf universe, but again, it's always a little weird the week before a major like this, because you have a handful of serious contenders for Augusta here. You've got a lot of other guys looking to, do something outrageous and kind of change their season. And that's always something that I like to talk about. But let's start very quickly looking backwards. We're coming off match play. Scotty Scheffler is playing clearly the best player in the world. Now, he's the number one ranked player in the world. I don't think that, but the stats and the recent form back it up. No doubt about it. He wins again. Kisner right there. I don't take much of what I saw from the match play. Do you? That's my big question here.
Yes and no. I mean, There's like little glimpses because, and I think there's a number of people where they always come in chat. Do you remember the one day the guy came in chat and he just started spewing, all you have to do is look at recent form. All you have to do is look at recent form. And it's like, no, what happens is, it's golfers who are playing well eventually don't play as well. And if you're playing terrible, you eventually play a little bit better. And there's guys in this field that I think I saw a little bit of something from the match play. I saw glimmers of hope. I saw a Luke List beat JT. I saw Tony Finau have a pulse. I saw things like that immediately become adds to the betting card. I mean, this is not the easiest golf course you're going to be facing at the Valero. They do a great job of trying to set it up as close as possible. In the same way when the lead into Augusta used to be the Houston Open, they try to set up the golf course to give players a glimpse into what you're going to have at Augusta. It's a ball striking type golf course. The rough is the exact length of what they're going to be seeing at Augusta, different grass type, but overall, they're trying to set this up in a way that leads you into the major, makes it a great prep week. And that's why you're seeing guys like Rory, guys like Hideki that make this a stop now for this season.
Absolutely. I do think, like most things, it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think that a guy who made a miraculous run at the match play is suddenly in a different tier. But if you lose, you're supposed to lose. Everyone is a dog to get out of their group. It's difficult to get out. I'm not saying, oh my God, this guy didn't advance, sound the alarms. It's not that big of a deal to me. It's just one more data point that we really have to get into. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on the match play. Like I said, Scheffler is playing out of control. He's going to be a talking point next week, but he's not here. He's taking his red hot form into Augusta. And there's not that many guys that played the match play that are here. So I don't think it's a huge selling point. Let's move on. Let's talk about Yahoo, who is powering this show. Again, if you're looking for different opportunities, you're looking for different pricing, Yahoo is the place to play. We have partnered up with them this PGA season to bring you some fantastic offers. I say this every week, but it's now is the time because the Masters is upon us, and you want to sign up and get that free month. So it's going to cover you for all that of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, all you do, you're new to Yahoo. You sign up for an account via the link below, you deposit and you play. That is it. Yahoo will do the work. They'll send us your name. We will get you out with that coupon, and you are in for a month. You get all the tools for major season. It is a no-brainer. Huge contest, little rake, great opportunity. I know you advocate for Yahoo often. You got it on your TV back there. Really good things. Even here, look at that. A little 5Gs to first.
It's pretty great. I mean, it's
Valero.
so nice to see for the Valero. I mean, that's the thing. These contests keep getting bigger. People keep filling them. Plus, you look at that 12.3% management fee. You talked about it. It's 4% less than you're going to see in any of the big iterations of DK and FanDuel. Your money goes further on Yahoo than it goes on any other major DFS site. Period. End of story. Moving on.
Yep. Well said. Let's get the TPC San Antonio. We see this course a lot. You mentioned that the week before, they try to entice players by maybe giving them some things that will be similarities. Obviously, they're not going to want to play a crazy difficult or different course right before heading out. So talk to me about what you want to do here. Is there something that you look at? It seems to be short hitters and long hitters coexisting, in my opinion, of who can excel. But what do you take to the table when you look at this course?
Yeah, I mean, think about Augusta National. I mean, we have Mike Weir, Charles Schwartzel, previous winners. You have guys like Bernard Longer who can still be competitive at Augusta. But then you still see the bomber-centric nature of it. You still see ball striking winning the day in a lot of places. We've got one really, really short odds guy in Rory McIlroy, and then the rest of the board opens up from a betting perspective. And for DFS, it's kind of going to be similar. I mean, you have 11-2 Rory, and everybody else goes 10-6 and back. I mean, for me, looking at all-around type play leading into it, that's always a prerequisite of me really wanting to like overinvest in a player or having at least one attribute that you can really excel at. These greens, I will say, are pretty benign. They're some of the easiest it looks like to putt on. That makes me more inclined to take some shots on some pure ball strikers, just because I think the gap is a little bit shortened for around the green game, putting game. Of course, you have to make putts anywhere you go. It doesn't really matter if it's, perfectly flat or undulated like Augusta. But for the most part, these greens are much, much more benign than they're going to see next week.
Yeah, definitely certainly on the slower side. That's no doubt about it. So just a little change of pace there. You can take advantage of, like most courses, you got to take advantage of these par fives. You're going to probably be doing some 3-shot par fives, no matter who you are. And that's why I think we see I always use Sneds as the example. Like, he always plays the courses like that. So some of those guys I do think have some advantages when you look at what we're doing. But to me, this looks pretty straight up. I like it. I don't cross off or bump down anyone in this field. I just evaluate them on how they're playing, how they seem to like the course. I don't think you need to be long or you need to be an incredible chipper or anything like that. I think anyone can thrive here.
All right. Well, yeah, that's great, because that's kind of the way that I look at it. Again, I think there's going to be a little bit of a bump up. There's some guys with some extreme course history here. There's some guys that haven't played here. Rory hasn't played here since 2013. There's a second place. I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, not to cut you off. I want to ask you, though, you can take it into the psych major style. Why do you think Rory is here?
So Rory's a guy, I mean, he didn't play in the match play last week.
No, he hasn't played since the Players.
Yeah, he's just taken some time off. He's a dad, don't forget. Rory's a dad now. I think that kind of changes things for everybody, whether it's Tiger. We saw him just really trim down his schedule once he became a dad. Jack Nicklaus talked about doing it. It's gone on forever. And when you're the elite of the elite of the elite, you're worried about majors. Like Rory McIlroy is worried about major championships. There's obviously something about playing the week before that he feels more comfortable with. There's certain guys like this that just want to do it. Hideki, he's the defending champ. He showed up this week. We have guys like this. Now, also, Rory, there's PIP. People don't understand the PIP aspect of this maybe too. You have to add another tournament you haven't played in for at least, I believe, 2 years is like the new prerequisite in order to get paid off. Why not ramp up the week before? If you're not playing well, you can, just maybe mail it in on Friday, miss a cut and move on with your life. You got that tournament in. I think there's a number of reasons, but obviously I think he wants to get some tournament rounds in. I think that the odds are just way too short to even like remotely entertain anything there. But from a mental perspective, it's always good to get some reps in if you can. Now, Tiger has limitations with his back and his body, with very little ability to go out and play, 8 rounds of golf in the course of 2 weeks. So I understand why he wouldn't even entertain any kind of an idea of ramping something up and you just show up and play Augusta. But for Rory, young dude, healthy, I think that this is just kind of setting the tone of something that he wants to do and feels the most comfortable doing.
Yeah, I think, and Chat's pointed this out, to me, it speaks more to him, particularly in the recent years, he hasn't really broken through, certainly still searching for the green jacket. I think he is trying something out, revving up. Normally he doesn't do this, change up, see what it does to Augusta. I'm not saying he's not trying to win this week, but I do think, of course, he is doing this because of the dividends he thinks it's going to pay next week, not this week. But he does lead us off in pricing. I think we have to take it case by case. He's 11,200. To me, Hideki is here for a completely different reason. He got hurt. He did not play in the Players. I think it would be pretty crazy for him to go to Augusta without any reps. So I think he's here kind of testing out the neck, testing out the back. 10,800. And then we've got Spieth, we've got Answer, we've got Bryson, another candidate who's probably interested to see how he plays himself. So when you look at the top of the board here, where are you drawn?
I'm drawn to Bryson, which is a weird thing for me to say. I know, exactly. He looked all right at the match play. And this is what I talked about, where there's certain guys that I'm not going to really read into anything. We hadn't seen Bryson in a very, very long time. He was just not really all there. It wasn't sharp. I just think that he played all right. And that's good enough for me in a field like this at 10-2 when he's going to be the lowest down of the 10K range. I can't remember many times that I've been on Team Bryson, but I mean, this is a ball striking golf course. The putter looked really good last week. That ended up being the one thing that I would really target and highlight. When Bryson's been playing really well, he's just one of the most underrated putters on the PGA Tour. Just because he bombs, it doesn't mean that he's not good in that department. 7th in the last 50 rounds amongst this field in strokes gained putting. You don't necessarily always correlate those two. I try to always kind of hammer that point home. For him, it's always about wedging it. It's always about being decent around the greens and having that capability to just score on the holes that these shorter hitters are just dominating because they're so fine-tuned with the wedges. So I'm willing to start a lot of lineups with Bryson, and that is a very strange thing for me to say, not my normal start to a tournament build.
Yeah, I mean, Bryson always, to me, has higher miscut equity than the guys he's next to, but he also has higher win equity just because of the way he plays. He's always working on things. When he gets off track, I think he has a harder time getting on track. I think when you look at his strokes gain data, you see that when he's losing in a specific category, he tends to lose in that category for a while. He's lost 10 straight events around the green. Can't seem to figure it out. He's also automatically going to gain off the tee. Got that figured out. Putting is extremely erratic. When it all comes together, he's unbeatable. When it doesn't, you're just like, this guy, why am I paying north of 10? So always a large field tournament play. Talk to me though about Spieth. He was just kind of blah last week. He's another, Bryson's an SMU guy. Of course, Spieth has Texas roots. This is a good tournament for him. Indifferent, buying, selling, what do you do here?
This is really hard for me. I have to be out on Jordan Spieth, and I think he's going to get steamed up. Sorry, Jason Roslin. Enjoy all the Jordan Spieth here this week. Maybe he plays poorly this time around, then goes to Augusta and, lights it up, and you get him a little bit lower on considering his sub 10K there. Obviously, he played fantastic there here last year, but looking at his ball striking coming into this event last year, it wasn't just that he was playing well at the AT&T like he did this year, but Genesis, he gained 1.3 strokes tee to green, 3.3 at the Players, even though he lost around the green in putting, which is weird for him in that event. Arnold Palmer, he was somebody gained 7.5 strokes tee to green, 5.5 with the approach. So many good ball striking outings coming into that. Outside of Pebble Beach here, it's just been very bleh out of him. Phoenix Open, 0.2, 3.2 at the Genesis. That was decent enough, but I talked about that. Not really having water, not really having a lot of difficulty. Riviera is a spot where he started to play a lot better since his college days. When I believe Texas won the national championship at Riviera. So, I mean, there's a lot of familiarity there. Yeah, there's familiarity with him with this golf course. He obviously won here last year, but I don't see anything with the ball striking that resembles what we've seen out of him last year coming into this tournament. So I think it's just a different iteration of him. He's 10-6. I would much rather get up to Rory, play Hideki. Both of those guys I prefer strongly over Spieth.
Okay, interesting. So you're willing to buy into the injury risk, because I think a lot of people are going to say like, well, let me see what Hideki does. I don't want to play him and he's just not ready. You're willing to say, you know what, and in a field like this, let me blindly back a guy like Hideki.
Yeah, and I'm kind of blindly backing Bryson a little bit too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think both of them. This is just kind of what I'm willing to do in tournaments. I think you're going to see Jordan Spieth higher than 17.8% that we have right now. Abraham Answer, I know isn't necessarily your guy. I think he's a better player than you do, but he is not 10-3. So that's him. You bet Abraham Answer?
I did, 22-1.
Okay, that's fine. So that's like your hedge in like every DFS format, because I doubt you're playing him, are you?
So I want to look at our tools. I want to look at our ownership and see where it gets to. If he's very popular, I don't see myself getting to a ton of him. I would rather pay the money to go get Rory or Spieth or punt with Bryson, in terms of saving just a 100. But I think that Answer is gearing up. I'm going to take the match play as an indicator. He looked pretty good. It's been no problems with the strokes gain data. It just hasn't come together. The putting has been hit or miss. So I'm okay with him not running to the window, but if I get to him and the ownership checks out, I'm okay. 22-1 is a good number though. Yeah,
that is a good number. I'm not going to deny that, but I just don't see him being a guy. And if you have any kind of an inkling like this field, once we get outside of this 10K range, is just complete dog doo-doo. Like for the most part, there's not a whole lot of strength. I mean, we're going to be backing guys like Kevin Streelman, 8,700, somebody that I have some interest in. Jonathan Vegas, I know you have interest in. There's a lot of guys coming up later. These are like high 8 players this week. So it's going to be uncomfortable to really pair an Abraham Answer with some of them. That's kind of where I'm looking at, elevating some of the upside. I feel like if Hideki's okay here and he's willing to go play 4 rounds of golf before the Masters here, tune up and get some reps in, that he's probably healthier than you think. So I'm going to see it as an indicator. Just him being in this field is a good thing. That makes me want to blindly back him sub 20%. Same thing with Bryson, where, he's going to be the lowest down out of everybody in the 10K range. I'll embrace the volatility in that regard.
I always ask you this, both questions, you can take them together. Double up in the 10K range, not play anyone in the 10K range. What are you open to in terms of lineup construction?
I am open to just about everything here in this event. I mean, there are some guys in the 6K range. I mean, we can talk about Harry Higgs. We can talk about Adam Long, who 6,600. Aaron Rai, I always blindly back. He's sub 7K. I think there's enough of those guys you can scatter into lineups where if you want to go Answer Spieth, Answer Bryson, for you specifically, I mean, I'm going to be out on Answer and Spieth, but Bryson and Hideki are going to be 2 guys that I think I can get to in a couple lineups. I doubt that it'll be any kind of a main build that I have. Mainly because if I'm trying to build any kind of a floor in for single entry, if I'm playing a contest with 1,000, 1,500 people, I mean, yeah, you probably want to find yourself the winner, but the winner, I'd rather take like 3 or 4 shots on guys in that upper 8K range rather than, just basically saying, hey, Hideki, go win me the golf tournament.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that there is certainly plenty in the 6s if you want to get down there. I like Rory, so if I click him in and I want like Rory Bryson combos, that's pretty strong. I think I can make that work. Not my preferred build, but I get it. Ryan Spence, welcome to Team Awesemo. Good to see you. You got the badge, looking good. Anyone wants to do that, you just press join right there. And if you don't want to do that, well, at least press the like button for us. Helps us out a ton, totally free, of course. And you can press subscribe. You join the channel. 75,000 is imminent. It might happen during this show. Because it says 74.9. So
wouldn't that be so great if we hit it on this show?
That would be pretty cool. So I can't do anything about that because I
had
already
50K with Josh on a show, or 60. Was it 60 or 50K? We hit one of the two together.
Yeah, I think 50, but maybe we'll do 75. You would cash a large ticket if you thought that was going to happen at the Valero strategy show. That was not the show that anyone thought. So maybe we'll make a miracle. Talk to me about the 9K range, because I'm not gonna say it falls off a cliff early. That's extreme, but you're going from Bryson Decky types to Corey Connor, Siwoo, Maverick, Kirk, Woodland, Keegan, Finau, Day. Good players, but certainly not firing on all cylinders.
Doesn't that look like a cliff to you? That doesn't look like a cliff?
Fine, a cliff.
It is a cliff. I mean, Corey Connors is 23% and like the chalk of anything non-Rory in this event. I mean, you are looking at Corey Connors being very, very, very popular here, and he'll be very popular if he plays decent here going into Augusta where his number is broken. So Corey Connors, we know the kind of pedigree he has, the Canadian who can ball strike and played well at Augusta last year and can be that guy. He was playing a lot better. Kind of the same case for Jordan, where I'm looking to fade him. I think Corey Connors was just playing a lot better coming into this event last year, or not specifically this event, but this time of year. I mean, he finished 14th at this event last year, but then backed that up with the top 10 at the Masters. Didn't play as well on the weekend, put himself into contention there, but he had a third, a seventh. He was really firing going into that event. It was good to see some signs of life at the Players where he gained all around. Arnold Palmer, he lost 3 putting, but you know that's going to be his bugaboo from time to time. He has the ability to spike, but considering he's going to be the second most popular golfer, this feels like, to me, the easier fade between him and Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, this is a weird range. I think Chris Kirk is probably playing the best of these guys. I feel pretty good about him.
Woodland's been really good of late, but it's been flashes here and there.
Yeah, Woodland has been good of late, but when I look at he's just still a little all over the place. Like, he missed the cut at the Players. It's the Players. I'm not going to get crazy about that. But yeah, I guess you can make a case for that as well. You mentioned Connors. We've got Siwoo there. What about Maverick? Maverick's a guy you're very high on, but we're not getting exactly, for a while, Maverick was your third or fourth or even fifth man in. Now he could be your first man in a balanced build. Is that too much?
Yeah, it's too much. I find it hard. I mean, I've been talking about Maverick for a year and a half of doing these shows with you, and he's up to 9,500. So I feel like I did my job in that regard, where I think he's a very talented player, but he's also 9,500 now and not exactly unowned. This is going to be really a difficult range for me because I think Woodland and Kirk are the two guys I've kind of keyed in on. Keegan Bradley and Finau, I'm also pretty high on. I think that just kind of excludes Connors, Siwoo Kim, and McNeely from a lot of my builds. I find it hard to play a 10K guy with one of those upper 9K guys and really fill out a balanced lineup. So I'm really, I was building some lineups here before the show, and I just kept landing on some of these low 9K guys. It was a little bit more comfortable. I think I'm more comfortable with some of the upper 7s that I can kind of make work, but the likes of Poulter and Fowler, who would need to win to get in, I believe. That's pretty crazy to say out loud, but
right. No chance.
I'm just saying.
Just no chance.
I mean, you got to have hope, man.
No, I have that would be a problem for me because then I would end up playing them.
Hope will drive a man insane.
This is why I think going back to lineup construction, this is why our tools are so important, seeing the leverage and seeing some of it. To me, the 9s are starting to become a dead range. Not to say I won't play these guys, but I don't know if I'm going to get over on a lot of these guys. I think Kirk is stable. I have no problem with Keegan. I think Finau's a good tournament play, but I prefer the 10s and I prefer the 8s, to be honest. I do want to ask you about Jason Day. Look at that, another addition to the team and all-around good guy, Connor Bishop, joining us. Good day, sir. He was just teeing up over at Hilton Head. We saw some pictures of that on Twitter. What about your boy, Tony Finau? And you can loop in Jason Day to round out the 9K range.
Yeah, I talked about Tony Finau, where he cannot possibly be playing worse than what he was going into the match play. We saw signs of life. Also, that's a match play format where it can kind of free you up off the tee. You can make some more birdies, and it's really just, you make a triple, you pick the ball up, and you move on. I think that can be comfortable for guys who aren't necessarily playing as well. But I think it was a good refresher for him. Maybe hit the reset button. He made like 7 or 8 birdies in his last match. I really liked what I saw out of Finau, even though it didn't result in much. I'm willing to just blindly back a guy in the betting markets who's 40-1 here. And I know that the way that odds makers are doing this, where it's like 35-1 for him at Augusta, and they just kind of like really, really drop those numbers and really kind of take some of the future, the ability to go get some of these guys the way you might have earlier in the year. It's so hard to find value right now at Augusta, but I just compare Finau 35-1 at Augusta to him at 40-1 here, and he becomes like an auto bet. And for DFS purposes, I can't imagine he's going to get over 15%. So I think that makes him kind of an auto play. Not a ton of leverage in the top, not a ton of negative leverage, negative 3.8%. I'm much more inclined to click on him than Day, who's, is basically flat leverage. So using the tools, Bryson's the first positively leveraged guy above 9K. So if I want a couple of somebody, negative 3.8% is about as good as you're going to find above 9K there too.
Yeah, I think some of these guys, for me, Day would be a better bet than DFS play. I'm not saying I won't get him at all if I go balance, but to me, you've got Finau, attractive number as well in the betting market. I just think the miscut equity is pretty high, but at the same time, if Kirk is massive chalk, you might have to look to pivot. Again, that's going to be a lineup construction question. We'll have more of that tomorrow when we get tee times, when we see what's going on. But let's work down a little more. Let's get to the mid range. We've got these 8K guys. Hadwin, Streelman, Johnny Vegas, Luke List, Davis Riley, who's been playing fantastic, Hoffman, who loves this place. A lot of mixed bag here. What do you see in terms of the eights?
Oh boy, yeah. There's some guys to get to here. Kevin Streelman is kind of a surprising back for me. Again, I'm kind of surprised on some of the guys that I'm landing on, but this isn't like a scoring fest for the first time in a while. And I don't really see this being like a Connecticut comp, which is hilarious because we were talking about Connecticut before the show. That's Kevin Streelman territory. Yeah, the Travelers, right?
You see, again, go ahead.
All comes full circle. Travelers is a beautiful golf tournament, but calling Connecticut the number one in the power ranking of states is just an atrocious take.
It's better than South Dakota.
You're an asshole. It's fine.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Look at that from the clouds. Talk to me about Streelman and Travelers and whatever else, because normally we see him excel there. We see him excel out at Pebble Beach. Mm-hmm. What do you see? Is it his wedges? Is it short irons? What is the correlation?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just overall a guy that around the green putter, we know that he can gain quite a bit in terms of approach from time to time. He really turned a corner here in Florida with those irons. And that's kind of, for me, the big thing. He's not a guy who's going to be impressing you, but yet he always gains off the tee. And it's so crazy. He just is accurate. These fairways are not necessarily the easiest to go out and hit here, but yet he's gained strokes off the tee every single tournament since the Houston Open back in November last year. I mean, that's a ridiculous number for a guy not known as a bomber. It's nice to see the irons have turned a corner. He's always going to be a guy, I believe, who's going to be a reliable short game around the green. And the putter has gotten back to solid after a really rough run towards the beginning of the season. So I think Kevin Streelman is trending in the right direction. 7th at Valspar, 22nd at the Players. I just think he's a guy that you want to buy into now. He's the lowest owned of this entire range. I don't know why, because I think he's playing decent enough. Yeah, it surprises me. So give me Kevin Streelman if this is going to hold. Now, if he ends up 15, 16% tomorrow, whatever, but I think Hadwin will be more popular. I definitely think your boy Jonathan Vegas is going to be more popular. So Kevin Streelman's my main target, and that's just surprising to say out loud.
Yeah, that is a little surprising because he's got course history that's in his favor as well. Kevin Streelman's played here a lot, whereas a guy like Johnny Vegas, who I bet at 55-1, to me, he hasn't done much at this course. I do think there are splits when he's forced to club down, kind of like Woodland, kind of like List. These guys, they can bomb it, and they do bomb it at times. But when they're on sometimes more technical tracks, not that this is overly technical, but it can help them. They're still going to gain off the tee. It's just not going to be purely distance. Those guys put it in the fairway early enough, and they can really, really attack. What do you make of Davis Riley? I think it's a name we should talk about. He's running crazy hot. Obviously, he's young. We don't know. We say, or at least I say this on these shows all the time. To me, he could be the most mispriced guy in the tournament because he could be the next Scotty Scheffler and he'll be 11K next year. He could also be a flash in the pan and we never see him compete again. I'd say that's doubtful, but what do you make of him right now, given the situation?
I think he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you can't take one result. I mean, the Valspar was outrageous in terms of he lost 2.5 around the green and he gained 5.1 and 7.1 strokes gained around the green. And then with the putter, 12 plus strokes gained just in terms of short game. That's a ridiculous number. He's always going to be pretty decent off the tee. That's something that I think we've kind of proven. He had the Amex where he just was awful. Other than that, he's been flat or positive in that regard for pretty much his entire career, his short career here on the PGA Tour. I don't really know what to say. I mean, he's a good player, but if he's going to be more popular than the likes of Streelman, who, 6 for 6, you talked about the course histories, 2 top 10s here, 4 top 15s. I mean, there's only one guy in this field, Charlie Hoffman, who has better course history than Kevin Streelman does in his limited attempts 6 times and 6 for 6. So I feel pretty good backing him over a Davis Riley, no question about it.
I'm with you. I think that it's just very difficult to discern even what Davis Riley is good at. At times it's like, oh my God, this guy's incredible putter. At other times it's like, oh, he's a typical ball striker who struggles on the greens. It's just so early. I don't think we know. Cameron Young, we've seen that you can buy and buy and buy and it can work. Like some of these guys are just on an ascension. I don't really see it here. I'm not going to pay mid eights when I can just get List, Vegas, Streelman. I'd rather play Knox as well right below him. But you mentioned the course history guy. His name is going to come up, usually does with Texas. So how do you weigh something like this? Charlie Hoffman is playing awful. Mm-hmm. Is it a hard reset when he goes to a course that he obviously loves? Or do you say, I'm not going to bank on a guy completely flipping his game, considering his Florida swing was it was pretty rough?
He will be the guy that I'm the most sensitive to his ownership.
Okay.
It's a buy at the ownership. If it's going to be 5.8% or whatever we have him at right now, 5.6%, he's a buy. If he's going to be 10%, you got to start asking yourself questions. It's just really a question of like looking at the rest of the range. And, you have Patton Kizzire at 8K getting some attention, but nobody else is really getting attention in this number. I have a feeling, just a gross feeling, that Charlie Hoffman might get a little bit more attention just because he's just been unbelievable at this track. He's never missed a cut in 11 times he's shown up here. Finished top three, 3 times, 3 seconds in a top third, and then 9 top 15s in 11 attempts at one golf course. I bet there's some times he didn't exactly have good form coming into this tournament, and he still found a way to get it done. You talk about these par fives, you really have to maneuver the ball around them. A guy like Bryson can probably get to 3 of these 600-yard par fives, but otherwise, he's just a tactician in some kind of regards. And, you look at golf courses that I think he's played well in the past, Firestone, which rips City to that. But that's another one where you can't necessarily just always be bombing it and going for it on all the par fives. You got to kind of maneuver the ball around to go out and score. And this just seems like a golf course he's very, very comfortable going back to last year, gained 13.2 strokes tee to green. I mean, that's a ridiculous type number you're looking at for him there. 2019, because obviously he didn't have this year before he finished second, gained 9.6 strokes tee to green, 5 with the putter. I think that there's enough times where he didn't necessarily, oh, by the way, 2019, he had a miscut, 18th coming into this tournament. So he's a blind back for me at 5%. Be very sensitive, though, to what that ownership might end up at tomorrow.
You're going to tell me he's 5%. I'll blindly back him as well, but he is someone I'm willing to fade at the right number.
Correct.
I think that his miscut equity is very high relative to his range. Yes, he could flip it, but he just might not have it. And yes, he has shown that he hasn't been in the best form every time, but I think it's pretty easy to make a case that this is clearly the worst form he's ever come to Valero in. I mean, he's shown nothing. Even the one you just rattled off, he did come in the top 20 at Valspar to give him a little momentum.
Do you think it's a mental thing? Because I think it's more mental than physical for him. Just he's been in the crosshairs of this Saudi Arabia stuff for quite a while. In the same way that Phil Mickelson isn't going to go out and play a golf tournament because I think he would be in complete shambles having to play in front of a crowd. I think there's probably a mental aspect where maybe when you're walking down the range, he gets different looks. The guys don't necessarily talk to him the same way because he kind of threw the PGA Tour under the bus, talked about things that needed to change, kind of was a soft backer of Phil Mickelson in some regards, said that he was going through a lot of things. People didn't really like that Charlie Hoffman was connected with as many of these talks as possible. I think coming into Augusta now, coming into like a week where, he can kind of hit the reset button, relax. He's not going to be under scrutiny. I don't mind a blind back of Charlie Hoffman, where I think mentally, maybe since the Phoenix Open, when he made those comments, since he was really kind of trashed for all the different stuff that was happening with that golf tournament. I mean, that was just a weird week for Charlie Hoffman. I think we could see him get back on track on a golf course like this, where he's just had such good vibes.
Yeah, I have no idea what it is. He's just playing awful. I'm going to just take it at face value that it could be a number of things. This is a good course for him, but if he is even remotely popular, I will make my stand against him and I will live with the result pretty easily. That won't even be a big deal for me. All right, let's talk about the upper sevens and then we'll work to the cheapies. Again, if you're looking for even more, you want to sign up, there's no reason. Go awesemo.com/join or hop in our Discord. You get our betting picks, all the good things we've got going on and all the tools, of course, ownership, tools, projections. These are the things that the reality of the situation, you really need to create some edge, identify values, because it's fun to talk about these golfers, but some guys are great play until they're projected for 22% ownership. And then we have to take a different approach. Those are little edges that you can uncover. If you want to join the team, we'd love to have you as part of it. But talk to me about Bobby Mack. Rasmus is here. Thigala, Kuchar. Ricky is here trying to make a miracle. My guy, Denny McCarthy, all of a sudden. A lot of different types of players. Some guys I'm comfortable with. Others I'm looking to short.
Yeah, the upper sevens are kind of an interesting range to be looking at here. I think there's a lot of equity to be able to take a number of shots up here. Your boy Kuchar. We've got Thigala, who I can't believe is going to be the highest owned dude. Again, I feel pretty sharp to be on Thigala as early as possible. And Maverick McNeely, I'm not going to be backing him as the most popular guy just because I think this is kind of a spot where Rasmus Højgaard, coming off of Valspar, another good outing for him. He had impeccable form, won a World DP tournament earlier this year. I don't mind backing the Dane here a little bit. I feel pretty good that this might be a decent enough course fit for him. I think that I'm probably going to be in on him. I'm looking at a guy like Brandon Steele. I don't mind taking some shots in that regard. Poulter, especially where, it's a win and get in type spot. I've been higher on Poulter than I maybe should have this entire year. It hasn't really paid dividends. He's just been making cuts. Feel like he'll make the cut here, but can he get enough going to really put himself into contention and to try to make himself a Masters viable? Maybe. We'll find out, but as it stands right now, I'm going to play a little bit of the ownership game in this range just because I think there's a case to be made for a little bit of everybody. But Rasmus Højgaard, straight up, probably my favorite play.
Interesting. I mean, again, Rasmus Højgaard goes in the Davis Riley bucket for me.
Yes.
He could be amazing. I have no idea. He was really good at Corrales. He's shown some form. We've seen him here and there. He definitely can play a little bit. There's no doubt about it. Does he belong in the 8s, the 7s, the 6s, the 5s? He gets his own category. I have no idea. But I'm not opposed to it if he's very low owned. To me, I think you could play Ricky. I have no problem with it. I think he's appropriately priced. I think he'll find the weekend good scorer. He makes a lot of mistakes, but he can really roll it. I'm going to just stick to my formula of playing Denny McCarthy. He's the best putter in the world on Bermuda. He's made 4 straight cuts. He's made 9 out of 10 cuts. He's gained strokes putting in 9 of 10. Off the tee will not put tremendous pressure on him. The price is fine. I don't think he's a great bet per se, because I don't think the upside is there because he needs the ball striking to be better. But mid sevens, he's with Lanto, Laird, CH3, Glover. I think he belongs amongst that group.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't mind it at all. I mean, the thing too is just his short game combination with the putter. I mean, it's a little bit of everything around the green where, that can certain weeks, if you get the ball striking to just kind of click for him, he's kind of the reverse of everybody else that I'm talking about. Yeah. Luke List, where I really want the putter to flip. Tony Finau, putter flip. Everything flip for Tony Finau. I'm looking at him as kind of a guy that he is exceptional at the one thing. He's going to continue to be exceptional at it. You're going to have weeks where he pops like the Amex, like the Pebble Beach, and he's going to be putting up these top 15s. And in this range, that's really what you want. I don't expect anybody from this range. I mean, they're totally live to win this golf tournament. The field isn't that strong, but for Denny McCarthy, he feels like a guy that has been consistent enough, only one missed cut this entire season. I think he's a pretty easy buy in a field like this.
Yeah. I mean, it's been working. It's been fine. Not that I'm getting paid off, but he hasn't killed me either. The one thing I'll speak to the other side though, because I do think it's worth bringing up, the difference in why everyone talks about how putting, anybody in the field can make the putts and get crazy hot. Denny McCarthy can't just start driving it like 350. That it doesn't work like that, obviously. So off the tee is much more repeatable. That's why you see guys go like years gaining strokes off the tee. Even the best putters are going to go cold, and even the worst putters are going to get hot. But Denny McCarthy puts way less strain on his ball striking. He doesn't need to be as precise because he makes all his putts. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's where we're at. Let's move down a little bit because now it really gets pretty murky. Fratelli was brought up. Kanaya is here. He actually looked pretty good last week. Kramer Hickok's a Texas guy. Smalley, who's flashed some talent. Bo Hostler's flat 7. I bet him at 140 to 1. Where do you go in the 7s, and then we'll get egregious?
Oh, look at that. You bet him. He was on my card for, I bet him at a top 10 number. I think it was like 22 to 1 or something. Or 14 to 1. It was one of the two. I can't remember. That's a pretty large discrepancy. It's on Twitter. I'm going to start posting some of my cards leading into this show helps me get up in the morning and really get that extra research in before you and I do our VOD that we do in the mornings, where we talk through our favorite bets, and then gets me kind of catapulted into this show. Helps me put in the work a little bit more. So Beau Hossler was somebody that really just catapulted to the top for me. We know his around the green game and putter has just been exceptional, and it will continue to be exceptional. I've said that for years and years and years, that he has the best short game I've ever seen in person. It's just, it's different. It's completely different than anything else that exists that I've ever seen in person. So like, I'm going to just back what I see. And he has kind of shown at the tour level that he's exceptional in that same regard of his golf game. It's catapulted into a third at Pebble Beach, 16th at Honda. These are all kind of guys that there's missed cut equity, like massive opportunity for them to be missing cuts here. But Beau Hossler can convert that into like GPP winning scores. So that's going to be something that I just continue to target long-term. I'm going to continue to bet him at the top 10, top 5 numbers. Do I expect him to win here? No, I don't expect that at all. But that's not really even in question. I think he can be somebody that when those irons are hot, and they can get hot from time to time, even though he's 109th in strokes gained approach in the last 50 rounds amongst this field. That's an atrocious number. They can get hot. And when they do, he's going to win. Well, not win golf tournaments. He's going to compete in golf tournaments.
He has been better lately. I've been playing him a decent amount. Elite putter. It's very erratic, but good tournament play. Last guy in the sevens. Do you chase what Lahiri did? He's played phenomenal. Was good at Valero, even amongst the struggles. Or is that just very trappy, looking at really short sample size course history and really short recent form?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like Chad Ramey, and that would be trappy, like trying to make the back-to-back, the Punta Cana to this back-to-back. I'm like, no, thank you. But I don't mind that. It's the same way that I don't necessarily mind Neesmith. And I'm really upset with myself because I was pretty invested in Neesmith at the Players. And I backed off at the Valspar, and he just punished me. Third at the Valspar would have been the low-owned piece that I needed to really convert that into a massive week for me. That was a huge bummer. I'm probably going to back Neesmith once again here. I just think that for the most part, he's a guy who does it with the irons. The off the tee game is pretty flat. The putter's not great, but overall 20th in ball striking amongst this field, last 50 and last 75, 22nd. So I think I'm all right going that direction. Lahiri is interesting. You're the whisperer. I don't really ever have a sense for this guy. I was cheering for him. I didn't have any investment, but I was cheering for him at the Players just to convert it. Cam Smith doesn't need any more money, but Anibal Lahiri, he's your boy. So what are you going to do with him this week?
So it's tough because you never get someone like Lahiri being interviewed. So when you do hear him talk, you're like, oh my God, he's found his game. He's saying, he changed all this stuff and now look, he's in second. So it's like, oh, Lahiri's turned the corner. But if they interviewed him at Genesis, would he have said the same things? We'll never know. I always think about that when I see a guy take a big leap. Like he talks about how he's figured all this stuff out and he played amazing at the Players. I tend to say I'm going to let other people probably infer it. I hope he starts playing well. I'd love to see it, but I'm not going to, you're talking about a $1,200 price bump because he's normally the min. That's a big ask. I'd rather play Fratelli blind. He always gains strokes somewhere, but we don't know what it'll be. It could be elite putting, elite driving. His irons have been really good lately. 7,200, great scorer of the ball. I think he's probably just better at this point. So love Lahiri, not going to do it. All right. Here we go. We got about 10 minutes left and then turn over to the NHL fellas, breaking down everything on the ice. Bet the Oilers last night. That was fantastic. They won by about 5 goals.
Look at you.
Well, they played an absolute dumpster fire, so don't anoint me just yet. The puck whisperer. But talk to me about the cheapies. Smotherman, Danny Lee, Wyndham Clark. We're looking for making cuts, some scoring upside if you find 72 holes. You mentioned you might double up north of 10. So if you do that, what are the names that you're drawn to?
Yeah, first guy off the bat, David Lipsky, is somebody that I had circled where we really haven't seen a whole heck of a lot of beautiful golf from him, but he's always been pretty good around the greens. Can really spike in terms of the putter, but can also be atrocious in that regard. Always going to be a little bit of a positive around the tee. I mean, just kind of a blind shot there. We saw a 7th at Corrales, 26th at the Arnold Palmer. He actually played a lot better than that, though. And 24th Pebble Beach. Just a number of decent enough results here, upper sixes. I'm willing to kind of go that direction. I'm always going to give a shout out to Aaron Rai. I can't quit this dude. I refuse. Miscut at the Arnold Palmer, miscut at the Corrales, but you have that sixth at the Farmers that I just cling to like the last chopper out of Nam, and I'm just going to keep doing it. So completely a blind back there. JJ Spawn, another guy that I've got circled as well. Not that he's going to be anything exceptional, but at the Valspar, we really saw some ball striking, and that's going to be his kind of regard with the approach, with the off the tee game that is very strong. JJ Spawn, kind of a decent ball striker that you can really back in this type of a field. Even Hayden Buckley, 20th in total strokes a game ball striking. But the difference between playing a guy like him and JJ Spawn is JJ Spawn is competent around the greens and Hayden Buckley is not. So I'm kind of going his direction a little bit more.
Hayden Buckley, I was 1 week early on, which is kind of frustrating. I liked him as a sneaky play at Valspar. Did not get it done again. He has lost. We don't have the strokes gained from Corrales, and he probably was much better there. But in what we do have, he's lost in 5 straight putting and 5 straight around the green. That's almost
not competent.
Yeah, it's Griot. That you can't do that. It just doesn't work. You can't lose in both to that extent. It's too much strain on your ball striking. Oh, boy. I think Grayson Sigg is in play. He's just kind of making cuts. He does what he does. I don't know a lot about him because he's a pretty young guy. Doesn't have a ton of experience on tour, but from what I can see, he's just a pretty typical solid ball striker, pretty average putter, not a great around the green player, but no glaring weakness. So I think for stability, him, Shank, these types, they can make a cut. What about now? I want to ask you about like a guy like Higo.
No, guy, I knew you were going to Lego my Higo. I just can't do it.
Okay.
I can't do it anymore. And we saw a nice start to this season for him right now. I've talked about his volatility. He's completely unowned. He's going to be completely unowned. He should be completely unowned. I got in so early at the Palmetto last year. That was fun. It has not been fun since then. And 25th, 21st here, Century at Phoenix Open. It's gone south since then. You're going to see young kids have some volatility like this from time to time. He seems like a talented South African. Gary Player really likes him, but I don't really like him for my bankroll right now. I'm kind of willing to back a lot of other people in this range, and he's just not going to be one of them. Adam Long, somebody that I brought up, he goes in your absolute phenomenal putter bucket with Hank Lebioda, your boy McCarthy. I think they're all guys that can just go out, and if they're going to be confident with competent with the irons, that's going to be something where he can end up competing in this kind of a spot. But it's a big ask still. Anybody here 6,600 and under, I mean, you're really diving.
You are diving, but I think it could be effective because if you pay up, you're getting a pretty good premium at the top. I think those are elite players. Chad is into Tyler Duncan. This is a guy I play all the time. He does make more cuts than a mid-6. I remember when he won RSM, that was good stuff. 4 or 5 made cuts, gaining. I'm okay with it. Do I think that I want to focus there? No, but if I land on 6-5, you've got him, Novak, Mullinax. I don't think that. Bermuda Benny is down here. I got a lot of tweets that Ben Martin was just running amok at Corrales. Love to see it. I think it's fine. I don't know how much lower I'm willing to go because it starts to just get, why are we going this low when we can find guys in the upper 6s? Do you see anyone really low?
Yeah, only guy that I've got that I'm going to play, I'm going to blindly back. Well, not blindly because he made a cut, actually. That was cool. Hudson Swafford played really, really bad in his first round at Corrales. Brought it back in the second round, salvaged some lineups for me and min cash season, good times. But Hudson Swafford, at least he's a ball striker. At least he's a guy that if he can just kind of get it going, these greens are pretty benign. His around the green game is atrocious. Putter's pretty flat, but Hudson Swafford, 13th in strokes gained ball striking in this field in the last 50 rounds. I think he does that one thing really, really well that you're kind of pointing to. And at least it's something like ball striking as opposed to Steven Yeager, where it's just around the green where, well, if you hit it in the shit, it doesn't really help you a whole lot to be good around the green.
Yeah, maybe on some like tee time stacks, skill set stacks, aggressive up top. I don't know. I do want to quickly say, and I'm not advocating to play him.
Guido.
I am. Yeah, Guido is here. This is, one of the prolific guys over in Europe. He's done some good things over there. I don't play unless there's a really special situation. I'm not going to play a guy who has basically no experience on tour. And when we have seen him He's done absolutely nothing. I would rather play Peter Uihlein at flat 6. Probably shouldn't do that either. But if you needed to, I think you could go there. It's pretty clear looking at our projections and our tools. None of these guys are going to be owned. So you're not playing an ownership game. You're just playing, can they make a cut? I think it's all pretty thin at this point. But let's get to our final topic because it ties in nicely. It is the lineup construction. So again, we've talked about I think the question you have to ask yourself is, are you starting in the 10s? Is it going to be multiple guys up there? Are you going balanced? I don't think there's a huge difference between the upper 6s and the mid to lower 7s. So for me, I think the cliff is Corey Connors, as we talked about. I want guys north of that, and I'll go to the 6s if I have to.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's require a 6K guy. Let's land on somebody there in this build. Yeah, let's build it. Let's start in the 10K range, though. Hard not to have exposure to Rory McIlroy. He's going to be the most popular guy up top here. I don't think you're going to argue with that. I think we're pretty split in terms of what we're doing with the rest of the 10K range. So let's stick with the constant. Shout out Lost, the constant, Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, let's go. Get us off the island, Rory. That's all I got for Lost. I don't know much about that.
It's good enough.
Okay. Let's see what happens. We're going to do this on the fly. Let's put in Bryson and let's see what happens if we double jam. Because I'm going to try to do this and I haven't. It's obviously Tuesday. I haven't built. So let's see. We've got the 2 top guys. Now we're going to have to find value, but you can do it. So we've got Rory. We've got Bryson.
I want to go to Matt Neesmith. 7,100. Sure. He's a guy that I'm just so upset with myself because I was invested at the Players. I thought he was like the 6K punt I really wanted to be over invested to. It felt like such a great spot for him. And then I hit the eject button at an easier spot at the Valspar, and he just goes and punishes me to no end. Played really, really nicely there in that final twosome. I'm willing to fire him up again this week.
I'm going to go to Denny McCarthy.
Okay.
I think he's just stable. We can make it work. 75 is not a brutal tag. Again, on Yahoo, some of these guys are even more appealing. So you can do it there as well. But building this out, Denny McCarthy, fine 4th man.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like we almost have to get into some Bo Hostler now at 7K. And I'll give you the entire. Him. Yeah. And now we're going to give you the entire 6K range. Bo Hostler, unbelievable short game. That is what it is. When he spikes with the irons, which he does from time to time, this isn't like something where we've never seen it. He does this. He is a very formidable player to jump from 7K and compete.
Yeah, I have no problem with Hostler. Obviously, I think it's pretty clear that we're building a large field tournament lineup here.
Yes.
But for what that is, I actually like it. If I had the money, and I don't, I would play Kramer Hickok. I'd be $100 short. I think I'm going to go with Schwab because I'm not worried about duping. We can zero this out. I guarantee that's going to be just fine.
But I said the requirement, we needed to have a 6K player.
Fine. You want a 6K guy?
I want a 6K guy.
You want Aaron Rye.
I do want Aaron Rye, baby. This is the greatest lineup ever made by mankind.
You can go Aaron Rye. I would go Grayson Sig if it was me. Okay. Either of those is fine. You can do that. If you do that, you have ample time to bump if you want. You could go to Ricky over McCarthy. You go to Poulter over McCarthy. You could bump up Bo Hostler into another range if you wanted to. There's a million 2v2s you have with the double 10K Bryce and Rory. So that's why I like builds like this. You can make 10, 15 lineups with this iteration. And if you get what you need up top, you've got a ton of outs in a large field tournament.
Yeah, I love that. I might be rotating a lot of guys through the Rory Bryson, especially now that we've even talked through it rather than just me crunching lineups. It looks really, really nice to be able to have those 2 kind of rocks, 2 guys that I think are going to be phenomenal plays there. Rory Bryson, Rory Hideki might even be even more play than I thought because the low 7s do kind of and mid 7s kind of provide you some opportunities to maybe not be as invested in terms of ownership as what that 8 and 9K range is going to.
There you have it. Good opportunities abound. Let's see if we can make some magic at Valero, of course. And again, I want to give a special shout out to Yahoo, doing great works. And my last thing that I want to say, if you're looking for promos, whether it's for the upcoming baseball season, whether it's for PGA, for our betting Discord, awesemo.com/promos is the place to be. You can find what you want. We've got great deals going for opening day in baseball and everything else, but we're going to turn it over. Don't go anywhere because we're going to turn it over to the NHL crew. They've got you covered on the ice. For me, for Eric, for Tyler behind the glass, good luck at the Valero. And I have a feeling you'll be seeing plenty of us next week when we talk all things Masters. Good luck. Enjoy the golf. And we'll talk to you guys soon.